In a city rife with crime and danger, only one man can protect us, Karate Chop Cop. Written and read by Shan McFadden. It was a busy morning at police headquarters when the chief called Karate Chop Cop into his office.
Once again, congratulations are in order, Karate Chop Cop. You single-handedly took down that ring of car thieves. Of course, you also karate chopped all of the stolen cars, so the owners aren't happy. But by golly, if you're gonna make an omelet, you need to break some eggs. Cars. Egg cars. That's a thing, right?
Karate Chop Cop stood proudly in his one-size-too-small police uniform, with his black sunglasses and his police motorcycle helmet glinting in the glow of the fluorescent lights. He stuck out his broad chest and squared his super square jaw and said,
"Just doing my job, Chief. Just doing my job."
Karate Chop Cop was joined by his partner Henley. Henley was a tall, tan-colored alpaca, which means he looked like a small llama in a police uniform. Henley was a hard-working, dedicated cop who took the job seriously, but his work was always being overshadowed by Karate Chop Cop's chopping. Henley also resented that Karate Chop Cop always got to drive the patrol car, although admittedly, Henley's hooves did make it difficult to work the pedals. Henley rolled his eyes at the chief and said,
"Single-handedly? Really? Who do you think apprehended the thieves while he was karate chopping all of those cars? And can someone please explain to me why the cars needed to be karate chopped in the first place?"
"They had suspicious-looking tires,"
growled Karate Chop Cop.
"Why do I even bother?"
Henley moaned.
"All right, enough playful banter," said the chief. "I have a surprise for you boys."
The chief introduced a freckle-faced young officer with a shock of bright red hair flowing out from beneath her police cap.
"Fellows, this is Officer Becky. She's here straight from the academy, and she's eager to learn, so I'm putting her with the best team I've got. I want you to show her how we do things here in the big city."
With a friendly grin and a keen glint in her eye, Officer Becky reached out for a handshake and said,
"I sure do look forward to working with you, Karate Chop Cop."
Karate Chop Cop stared at her extended hand and said,
"No offense, rookie, but my hands are deadly weapons. They're for chopping, not shaking."
Becky whispered to Henley,
"Wow, he sure does take karate chopping seriously."
Henley shook his head and said,
"Kid, you have no idea. You know, I was just like you once. I graduated from the academy at the top of my class. I thought I was going to clean up this city and really make a difference. And then they stuck me with him. You know how I spend most of my time now?"
"How?"
asked Becky.
"I spend most of my time trying not to get karate chopped. It's ridiculous."
Minutes later, the three officers were in a police cruiser patrolling the city. Becky was in the backseat while Karate Chop Cop drove. A call came in over the radio.
"Karate Chop Cop, there's a disturbance 2 minutes from your location. We need you to check it out. Over."
"Roger,"
growled Karate Chop Cop.
"Looks like it's time for me to get chopping."
Henley stretched his long alpaca neck back from the passenger side and whispered,
"Listen, when we get there, just do what I do. Keep your head down and try not to get chopped."
"Well, why does he chop everything anyway?"
asked Becky.
"For the same reason he wears a motorcycle helmet all the time, even though he drives a squad car. Because he's dumb. Really dumb. But the chief loves karate movies, so he just lets Karate Chop Cop do whatever he wants."
The cruiser screeched to a halt at the end of a quiet cul-de-sac. The officers were approached by a kindly old lady with thick glasses, wearing a flowered dressing gown. She carried a large battered handbag and walked with a cane.
"Oh, thank goodness you're here, officers,"
she said.
"My poor little kitty Fluffy is stuck way up there in that tree."
Becky looked up into the branches of a tall oak tree and saw the face of a small orange cat staring back at her.
"A kitty in a tree? No problem, ma'am. I'll just climb that tree and have him down in a jiffy."
As Becky prepared to climb the lowest branch, the old lady interrupted.
"You know, my husband planted that tree on our first wedding anniversary. God rest his soul. That was more than 60 years ago." That's lovely, ma'am, said Becky as she listened patiently.
Meanwhile, Karate Chop Cop struck a mean karate pose and snarled at the tree.
Tree, drop the cat, and no one gets hurt.
Karate Chop Cop, there's no need for chopping,
said Henley.
I said drop it,
Karate Chop Cop repeated.
That tree's so precious to me,
the old lady continued with a melancholy smile.
It holds so many cherished memories.
Becky looked nervously at Karate Chop Cop and said,
That's lovely, ma'am, but I should really go get your cat now.
But the old lady was now lost in her memories.
I remember back in the summer of 72. No, maybe it was 73. No, wait, it was 75.
Last chance, Tree,
bellowed Karate Chop Cop.
Drop the cat or face the consequences.
Karate Chop Cop, please, attempt to be less stupid than usual, begged Henley.
That's it,
roared Karate Chop Cop as he flew through the air in a blur of flying chops.
Karate Chop Cop, no!
shouted Becky, but it was too late. In a blurring whirlwind of flailing limbs, Karate Chop Cop struck the tree with a barrage of vicious karate chops.
Karate Chop!
The trunk splintered and the tree crashed to the ground, while the cat jumped to safety on the sidewalk below.
My beloved tree,
wailed the old lady. Becky gasped, and Henley shook his head and said,
You see what I mean? D-U-M-B, dumb. He just does not get it.
Karate Chop Cop scooped up the cat in one of his massive hands and passed it to the old lady.
Here's your cat, ma'am, safe and sound.
Well, at least I still have you, Fluffy,
she sniffed as she wiped a tear from her eye.
Oh, goodness, you must be so cold. Here, let me get you your sweater.
She reached into her handbag and produced a small brightly colored sweater, which she began pulling over the cat's head. Fluffy meowed and wriggled in her grasp as she struggled to dress him.
The cat doesn't like the ugly sweater, ma'am,
warned Karate Chop Cop.
Don't force him to wear it, or you'll face the full extent of the law.
The old lady laughed and said,
Oh, no, Fluffy loves his sweater. Don't you, sweetie Pookums? Oh, yes, you do. You're just a little bit squirmy, that's all.
Drop the cat, now!
shouted Karate Chop Cop.
Making a cat wear an ugly sweater is not against the law, Karate Chop Cop,
cried Becky. Henley approached the old lady and said,
Ma'am, just trust me. You need to get out of here now.
But I don't understand,
mumbled the old lady, as she continued to tug the sweater over Fluffy's head.
That's it!
roared Karate Chop Cop as he leapt through the air in a blur of flying chops.
Karate Chop!
Hours later, Henley, Becky, and Karate Chop Cop stood in the chief's office. The chief shook Karate Chop Cop's hand vigorously and said,
Excellent work, Karate Chop Cop. I hear that the lost cat is safe and sound.
Henley groaned and said,
He tried to karate chop a 90-year-old lady for making her cat wear an ugly sweater. And he would have succeeded, too, if I hadn't let her jump on my back and ride me to safety, which was humiliating, by the way, considering I'm an officer of the law. But just so we're clear, making your cat wear clothes is not against the law.
That's why we're just letting her off with a warning,
grumbled the chief. Then he patted Karate Chop Cop forcefully on the back and said,
Once again you've set the standard for the department, Karate Chop Cop.
Karate Chop Cop squared his super square jaw and said,
Just doing my job, Chief. Just doing my job.
Becky sighed and said,
When I dreamed of being a police officer, I didn't think it was going to be like this.
Welcome to my world, kid, moaned Henley. But maybe if we work together, we might just be able to get some police work done and avoid getting chopped. Let me buy you a coffee and we'll talk about it.
While Henley and Becky drank their coffee, the chief continued to compliment Karate Chop Cop on a job well done. But Karate Chop Cop barely heard his words of praise. Instead, he tightened his jaw and stared out the window. The city was quiet. Too quiet for Karate Chop Cop's taste. He knew that evil and lawlessness were always on the move, and when they came to take his city, he would be waiting with a mighty karate chop! Join us soon for the next episode of Karate Chop Cop. Written and read by Shan McFadden. Music by Audionautics.com.